Hey guys, how you doing? Luna here with a new video for the channel. Today we have another review. This time we're reviewing Blue Red. This is the third studio album by Canadian band Alvvays. To be honest, I didn't really think that I was gonna do this review. I had no hopes for this album really. I only listened to the album because it appeared on my YouTube recommendations. I knew that the album was going to be released, and I gave the albums, the previous albums a try. Also, I just don't really like, it's something that I have that I don't really like when an artist takes so much time to release new material. You were talking that, their previous album to this one was released all the way back in 2017. So that means that we have 5 years without a single song or anything. And that often, for me, it kind of tells me that the artist doesn't really have any inspiration to release anything new. So when they release a new album after so long, I think that's just because they want money or something like that. But, music always proves me wrong in this occasion, not only because the album is fucking awesome, but also because, the reason why they started, they took so long making this album is because they had a lot of issues while they were recording the new album. For example, the COVID. I also believe that some demos were stolen, so a lot of things were wrong with this album even before the album came out. But in all honesty, it was worth the wait. This is probably my favorite release from this year. This album was awesome. This album leans pretty heavily on the pop rock and bedroom pop genre to create a beautiful atmosphere on every single track. The opening track, Pharmacist, is a great example of how the rest of the album sounds. So if you want, a trailer for the whole album, let's say, definitely listen to the opening track because it's a really, really good introduction to the album. Really straightforward songs. That one of the best things about this album is that none of the tracks really overstays its welcome. Most of the tracks here are about 2.5 minutes long. Some even shorter. I believe that the lengthiest track in this album is like 3 minutes and 20 seconds, and that's it. But rather than that taking points away from the album, it's actually one of the things I like the most. I love long tracks. I really love a build-up track, a track that takes the time to introduce you to the song. But I also like albums that are really straightforward. The track just comes in, delivers, it fulfills its purpose, and then it goes out to the next track, and then it's the same again and again and again. That's basically what this album does in every single one of the songs. It introduces you the song, you enjoy the song, next one. As said before, the soft, beautiful, comforting, and even pleasant texture of this album can be found in every single track, whether they're using synths or guitar riffs or any other thing. For example, like digital sounds in the track Very Online Guy, which again, that's another positive thing about this album. Their previous records were always pretty linear. They stood to one genre, and they performed the whole album based on that genre. Instead, in this album, they try to explore different versions of pop music, going from jangle pop, pop rock music, bedroom pop, also art pop in the song Very Online Guy. And somehow they managed to do this without shifting away from the atmosphere that the album introduces you. The vocals blend in with the rest of the track so perfectly that it's almost like another instrument, Actually, one of the worst moments on this album is actually when Molly begins to sing a little bit higher, because it's sort of like, it shifts away from that texture that you're already used to because of the previous tracks. But that's just one small detail. It doesn't really hurt the album that much. Overall, Molly does a great job performing in every single one of these songs in a really breathy, quiet voice that's really comforting, and it works for conveying the message that, communicating the message that she wants to communicate. Which brings me to the lyrics. Again, in previous albums, the lyrics were quite linear. There wasn't anything interesting about them, or at least not for me. In this album, instead, even though the subjects are about the same, love, heartbreak, teenage love more than anything, here it's played out a little bit better by storytelling. For example, in the track Tile by Tile, which is one of my favorite songs on this album. The way they use the synths in this song, it's beautiful. It's a song that brings me so much nostalgia. I don't really know why. This wasn't a band that I listened to when I was younger. I just feel nostalgic listening to this song, which proves how well put together the whole track is, and how well, the amazing job the track does by communicating these feelings to you. Not necessarily because of the vocals or the lyrics, but the whole track. As said before, most of the songs in this album are heartbreak or love songs. You know, they play around the two. But in the track Very Online Guy, they decide to do some sort of parody of how we manage social media. You know, how it's so easy to cause a reaction in us by only a comment, only a filter. If you're paying attention to the lyrics, that's it. Because most of the times in this album, it's so beautiful, so atmospheric, and it creates such an aura that's so pleasing that you're not going to be paying attention only to the lyrics. You're basically just synced in the track. And this is supported by the fact that, you know, the quality is so leveled in this album. You know, it almost feels like with every new track that comes into the mix, it gets even better. Something that happens really often, even in my favorite albums, is that, you know, you have the typical song that it's the song of the album, the greatest song on the album. In here, you don't really have that. Every song brings something to the table that's necessary for the album. And, you know, the quality of the songs don't really change that much. They always stay in the same level of quality, which is a really good one, by the way. The instrumentals here are pretty simple. There's nothing that complex about this album, which is also something I enjoy, because this type of genre I don't really like it when it gets too complicated. In this, they only focus on making an enjoyable track, make you feel immersed in the album, and they totally do it by minimalistic instrumentals. For it, you know, the main focus of this is the use of synths, you know, the guitar and the vocals, and the combination of these three is actually what makes the song so enjoyable. This album is also, it made me feel emotional for some reason. I couldn't really tell you what was it about the song Born in Bristol that made me feel so sad and so gloomy. It's hard for me to say enough good things about this album. It almost feels like everything that I just remember about this thing makes me love it even more. Again, I'm recording this on the same Sunday. You know, I'm uploading this on Sunday, probably. I hope so. And I'm recording this on Sunday because I've been taking my time to see if I'm overhyping this thing, you know, if I'm enjoying it a little bit too much. But I've heard this album like 10 times now. I've been trying to research everything behind the creative process of this album to make sure I have all the information I need to, you know, make the decision. Do I want to give this album a perfect score? And with every new listen, I love this album even more. I've done 54 videos on this channel. If you watch my videos, you know that I'm a really critical person, and I am not someone that praises this album just because I'm actually quick to point out the flaws of an album. Maybe one thing I can add that I didn't quite like about the album was the fact that some tracks were a little bit too short, especially the last track on this album. Being the end to such an amazing listen, I think that they needed something longer than just 1 minute and 40 seconds, especially because the melody and the harmonies of that song are amazing. I wanted to hear, you know, a longer version of that song, a more, you know, accomplished version of that song. But then again, that's just me wanting more from the album because how much I liked it. I cannot really take points away from the album just because I wanted more. And if I say something, for example, the lyrics being a bit too simple, then again, do you want anything else from a pop tune? The only bad thing I can say of everything surrounding this record really is, first of all, the audiovisual support this album, you know, got was awful. Really, I mean, both the visualizers and the music video for Very Online Guy are really bad. But then again, is that a problem for the album? No, it's not. So, I mean, yeah, you have Velveteen, you have Pharmacist, you have After the Earthquake, you also have Easy on Your Own, Born in Bristol. Pretty much, I think that this is going to be the first perfect rating I give to an album on my channel. I believe that this is one of the best releases of the year. I definitely believe that the boys from Alvvays outdid themselves on this album, especially Molly. Shout out to Molly. Keep at it because you did a great job on this album. And you know, I have a soft spot in my heart for this album, so I kind of hope to reach December by the end of the year, do a year-end list, and see this album at #1 because I loved it. I think it was a great project, and I'm definitely giving this album a 10. That is it for today's video, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any other videos that I upload. With that being said, once again, I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope I can see you guys soon again with a new video. But until then, bye.